Chitterelli is going up against that historical precedent, not to mention Trump lost New Jersey in 2024, 2020, and 2016. However, there is recent precedent here, Michael, for bucking this trend. Governor Phil Murphy, as I mentioned, defeated Chitterelli in 2021. That happened a year after his party won the presidency with Joe Biden.
That's our Mike Hayes. They're analyzing this race for a governor in New Jersey. Phil Murphy, as we said, term limited, and he leaves office next January. Mike, thank you very much.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
WNYC is supported by Little Bear Ridge Road, a new Broadway play starring Laurie Metcalf and Micah Stock, written by Samuel D. Hunter and directed by Joe Mantello. Previews begin October 7th. Tickets at littlebearridgeroad.com.
Public media is a refuge from commercialism, which is why you don't hear any ads on WNYC. Business support and the recognition the station provides is a critical way WNYC is able to work free from fear or favor. Your business can support our work at WNYC.org.
On the next Brian Lehrer Show, Harvard historian and New Yorker staff writer Jill Lepore. Her new book is called We the People, A History of the U.S. Constitution. Part of it is a description of the most important amendments. Part of it is an argument to make the Constitution easier to amend. But is that a good idea in today's polarized country? Jill Lepore and more on The Brian Lehrer Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on WNYC.
It's 5:52, and you're listening to Morning Edition on WNYC. Coming up, Marketplace Morning Report, that's next. And then President Trump says he's sending the National Guard into Memphis, Tennessee. He's threatened to do the same with several other cities, including Baltimore. But that city's mayor and that state's governor, both Democrats, are pushing back. We'll have more on that story in about 15 minutes. Mid-60s and partly cloudy on this Tuesday. Mostly cloudy and mid-70s today, with the winds gusting up to 23 miles an hour. Hold on to everything out there. It's 6:53.
Is there such a thing as too much transparency?
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Affinity, provider of the CRM for the private capital relationship economy. Affinity knows who has the best relationship with the right startup. Affinity knows. Learn more at affinity.co/marketplace. And by Amazon Business, committed to business buying solutions to empower leaders to streamline and focus on growth. Learn more about smart business buying at amazonbusiness.com.
From Marketplace, I'm Sabri Benishore, in for David Brancaccio. You know how public companies report results every 3 months? They tell you how business is doing. Well, in a post on Truth Social, President Trump has said they should not have to do that so often. Instead of reporting 4 times a year, corporations should only have to report twice a year. There are actually many critics of the quarterly report, including influential investor Warren Buffett and 2016 presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Marketplace's Savannah Peters has more.
American investors have come to expect and rely on frequent disclosures from public companies, above and beyond what's required by the Securities and Exchange Commission, says Caleb Silver with Investopedia.
We want to be able to open up the hood and look at performance across divisions. We want to hear from management on the progress of new products. We want to hear about challenges.
And Silver says results calls give investors and the public a quarterly window into things like wholesale prices, what businesses are investing in, how consumers are feeling and spending.
Not just inside the company, inside the sectors that they're working in, and across the broader economy.
Silver says getting updates half as often could cloud that view, but it could also reduce pressure on companies to meet short-term investor expectations, according to Mohan Venkatachalam at Duke School of Business.
It may be good for the long run of the firm and the economy because maybe it will boost innovation. It would boost long-term thinking,
which could help companies and the economy grow. If the SEC scales back requirements, Venkatachalam says we'll find out if that growth is worth the loss of transparency. I'm Savannah Peters for Marketplace.
A federal appeals court has ruled that Lisa Cook, the Federal Reserve governor that President Trump has been trying to fire, can stay in her job for now. The White House is expected to very quickly take this to the Supreme Court. The Fed's next meeting to decide on interest rates in the economy starts this morning. All right, let's do the numbers. Dow futures are pretty much flat. S&P futures are up 0.2%. NASDAQ futures are up 0.3%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Odoo, offering software that provides building blocks for creating a custom software suite. Odoo, what businesses need. And by Avalara, providing cloud-based solutions for businesses to manage property tax compliance. Learn more at avalara.com/property-tax.
The South Korean government says it is now investigating potential human rights violations during an immigration raid at a Hyundai plant in Georgia where 300 South Korean workers were detained and then sent back to Korea. Many of the workers were in the U.S. temporarily to set up equipment in that factory. Images of them in chains and shackles caused a furious public reaction in South Korea. A State Department official expressed regret over the incident, and President Trump posted that he welcomed such temporary workers and didn't want to frighten off foreign investment. So what does this episode tell us about the U.S. immigration system? Stuart Anderson joins us to talk about it. He's the executive director of the National Foundation for American Policy. It's a nonpartisan public policy research organization. Stuart, good morning.
Good morning.
The allegation here is that a lot of these workers were on visas that allowed them to be here, but did not explicitly allow them to do the work that they were doing. Why would a company like Hyundai or its subcontractors choose to use these visas, and what were they?
Well, I think what happened, having talked to one of the attorneys, Charles Cook, who represented some of the South Koreans who were arrested, is that they encountered the South Koreans and saw that they were on B-1 visas and immediately decided that that was unlawful, even though it appears that is incorrect. So it appears that ICE made a mistake. It was another case of other priorities, particularly immigration enforcement, taking precedence over what is really economic common sense. This is a factory that was going to be built to employ 2,000 U.S. workers, and instead you're having months delay and really a threat to other types of investments like this in the future.
Mistakes aside, do you believe that the desire to protect American workers and the need for foreign workers in some situations, is that appropriately balanced in the current U.S. immigration system?
It is completely not balanced. U.S. economic growth relies on labor force growth and productivity growth, but we estimate in an upcoming analysis that over the next decade, America will have about 15 million fewer workers if the current policies on legal immigration and deportation continue, and that would reduce U.S. economic growth by about 1/3 annually, which would be a significant negative impact for living standards for average Americans.
Some people who hear that will say, well, no, we should focus on getting jobs for people here in the U.S. Why would it bring us gain to give those jobs away? How would you respond to that?
Well, the government data show that there's been a decline of about 1.1 million foreign-born workers since the start of the Trump administration from January to August 2025, but we've seen no benefit for U.S. workers. We've seen actually an increase in the unemployment rate for U.S. foreign workers. And one of the reasons for that is when employers can't find enough workers, they decide not to invest as much. If you and I own a restaurant together and you say to me, why don't we start a second restaurant? And I say, well, you know what? We can't find enough workers now. We say, okay, yeah, you're right. Maybe we won't open up the second restaurant. And when you put that across the whole economy, you can see why trying to constrict the labor supply is not an effective economic strategy for creating prosperity.
Stuart Anderson is the executive director of the National Foundation for American Policy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our producers are Tamar Fagan, Ariana Rosas, and Erica Soderstrom. Our senior producer is Alex Schroeder. Our supervising senior producer is Meredith Gerritsen Morby. And in New York, I'm Sabri Ben-Achour, and you've been listening to the Marketplace Morning Report. from APM, American Public Media.
WNYC support